After a long day of being pulled in every direction, the last thing anyone wants to think about is what's for dinner. That's where Schwann's can help, with a variety of real food choices, frozen to lock in freshness. From ready-made meals, premium meats and side dishes, to vegetables, ice cream, and more. Schwann's foods go from freezer to table in minutes, not hours, so you can pull off a delicious meal in no time at all. Ordered, delivered, done. That's homemade easy. To help simplify mealtime, visit schwans.com.
And now, an ad from Dad.
All right, save money on car insurance when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Can I take these off? All right. What is this? This looks good. Wow. That's well made. Where did you get this? I'm talking to you with the hair. Yeah, where did you get this? It's good stuff. That's solid. That's not veneer. That's solid stuff.
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
This is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from 309 Belmont Street.
Lane.
In what?
Lane.
Land?
Lane. Belmont Lane.
We didn't want to give them the exact address, did we? Yeah. So, and I'm joined by Jenna, Kelly, and Tyler. I almost call you Taylor again. I think it's Zachary Taylor, and it's Jenna's. Why I have the headphones on? I'm having the headphones on. I'm not listening to anything. I have it. Hopefully you can hear us. We were just doing a sound check. This episode's episode 140. Moby Douche.
140? I thought it was 141.
140?
It's 140.
140 because 139 was yesterday.
Okay. 140.
I think I'll have to.
Oh, you might have to check that.
I may have to double check that. What fucking numbers?
I know. Just
it's only
numbers.
A number.
It's just
like
numbers.
age is only a number. It's only a number. But Moby Douche, I can open to it here.
Yes, today's episode is Moby Douche.
Yeah, Moby Douche. Call me Jim Michelle instead of Ishmael. Having little money in my pocket, I am drawn to the service of libation to travelers, distributing libations to travelers and residents of this archipelago, which I reside. That's a hard word, isn't it?
It's archipelago.
Archipelago?
Archipelago.
Archipelago?
Yes.
Okay. I'll learn to speak one day. Yeah, I have seen many different variety of patrons enter my establishment, but only one remains in the forefront of my memory. Of all the worst, the great white asshole, 40-year-old skateboard guy, Moby Douche. This past Sunday, I'm going to go into detail about it.
Yes.
To add insult to injury, my team, the Philadelphia Eagles, was playing the New Orleans Saints, and they played them well. And this guy was actually cheering for, I think he was cheering for the Eagles too, but the scruffy-haired dude with the graying hair and all that stuff.
And the weird one-wheeled skateboard.
I didn't know about that until I saw later that it was coming, when he was coming out, when I was coming out of the restroom, I noticed he had the one-wheeled skateboard, which I posted as in a picture. It goes up to 20 miles an hour.
It's weird. It's like one wheel in the center. It looks kind of like a small car tire.
So, and in the beginning, he even asked, "Do you want my credit card?" And I said, "No, you're all right. You're not going to run off on it." Little did I know, I was incorrect.
Yes.
Because not only the Eagles lost, but right after the game, I'm sitting there. I see the guy with the ground effect lights going around the skateboard. I'm behind the bar and I go, "The motherfucker is leaving." You know, and I ran out the door, and everyone's watching me. There's only like 6 people there really right now, but these 2 guys think I'm running towards them at the table. They're shitting themselves. But I go out the door, and I chase. I get out to the street, the bike path that's right in front of the catch, and I look up, and he's about 75 yards head start on me, and he's cruising, right? And I just bolt, and I kind of close the distance. We get to that Jehovah's Witness place right there, and I go, "Stop right there, motherfucker!" And he fell.
Good.
I almost fell too because I was running my bar shoes and stuff like that, and my shoelaces were. So he fell, And he got up in his board and started coming back to me. So I went down and tied my shoes. And he came back and did a little loop. I go, you didn't pay your bill. Come on back. Come back with us. He goes, I'm going home. And just keeps on going. And I'm tying my shoes, and I'm down on the ground. And he's got me now. He's like 75 yards, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to catch him anymore after all that running. I ran maybe. I could run further, but I think I can only sprint like 200 yards.
Full speed, maybe a block, right?
Well, I could do 200.
Yeah.
I'm not super fit. I'm not like.
Well, you do teach
Iron
a spin
Man.
class.
I'm surprisingly fit for a 55-year-old man when it comes to chasing someone down.
Yes.
I almost caught this guy, but he's my Moby Douche. Ran out on he was drinking Michelob and shots of Jameson. And he had like a $43 tab, $44 tab, and I don't know if he was intoxicated and forgot, but I put the word out. I put it on Facebook, and they shared it. And people, I'm starting to get information, and somebody I saw the other day, I don't want to say who, told me that he knows it's
some of the places that he hangs out.
One of the places, CJ's.
Yes.
But I'm going to get him. But that's my Moby Douche. And
well, your thing, too, was that just pay your tab. If you don't want to tip me, fine, don't tip me. But at least pay your tab because then you end up having to pay that.
Yeah. And he can come back in and do that. I mean, he can come in and pay the tab. There'll be no repercussions.
If he's listening or anyone else is out there listening,
well,
he can come back and pay the tab.
There'll be no repercussions for that. And it could be awkward if I catch you first.
Exactly.
You know, why would you want to wait around with that? I think it's called the Sword of Damocles hanging over your head.
The Sword of Damocles?
Yeah, that's fate.
Oh.
That's it. When the judgment of the gods, the Sword of Damocles. I think Damocles.
Is there
some Greek
gods?
Yeah. And it's hanging over your head, and it's always going to be over your shoulder. You're 2 blocks away, and we're going to run into each other.
The Sword of Damakarma.
Yesterday, when I was working, I told you there was a guy on a skateboard, but it had the regular wheels. And he had his haircut.
And he was shorter. It wasn't
shorter.
Him.
And I go, yeah.
Yeah.
He would. I mean, would he walk in front of there and get his just to see? I wonder if he'll recognize me now. But he didn't seem all that big to me.
I don't know. I just recall him being tall.
Well, it didn't dissuade me from chasing him down. I was gonna. If it was one of those, if there were one of those 4-wheel skateboards, traditional ones, I would have just got a bunch of rocks in front of him.
I would have just grabbed a rock and thrown it at him.
What?
What if you just grabbed rocks and started throwing them at the guy? Maybe you could have knocked him off.
It was dark. It was dark, and there was a lot of cars, and it was near the Jehovah's Witness place.
You didn't want to offend any of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, I'm yelling "motherfucker" in front of it. I'm gonna get you, motherfucker.
You could have ran inside and grabbed a stack of watchtowers.
I didn't say that. I will get you. You have no place to hide, motherfucker. But I wanted to say all the cliches in there. You can run, but you cannot hide. I'll get you one day. You know, mark my words. Mark my words. I get it. And so yeah. So I mean, he seemed like he was cool until he did that. So that
he's
that
not
was
so cool.
Yeah. So you have your story or your guy today.
I do have a Moby Douche story, but first I have to tell you that I looked up in the Urban Dictionary what Moby Douche means, and it says a white guy, I guess.
Okay, that's a white guy.
Right, a white guy who is such a douchebag that he can sink an entire ship with his douchiness. By extension, his douchey capacities are so huge he can ruin virtually any occasion at which he is present. So I think it's a great definition of your Moby Douche.
Well, I mean, other than the character flaw of being a dick running out on your check and not knowing that, whether my boss was going to make me pay for it or not.
Right. It's a small town, though. Why do people do that stuff here? Like, word spreads fast.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't have that, I mean, what you're pretty much saying when you do something like that, you're saying, well, I don't have that much, I don't have a reputation to protect.
Right.
I mean, there's guys like that.
They just don't care.
I mean, you've seen what would you see? They have all TV shows about people like that.
What is it, narcissist? Is that what those shows are?
Sociopath, narcissist.
Yeah.
A narcissist isn't necessarily
it's all about them,
a bad
them.
person.
Nothing's ever wrong with them. They never
it's not
apologize.
necessarily a bad person. They're just
It's a character flaw.
Yeah, it's a character flaw.
Yeah.
But if you got a sociopath, a narcissist with sociopathic tendencies, just to do whatever you want. Now that's not psychopathic. Right?
No.
Well, once
See,
again, I'm over.
You're
I'm out of my
over-analyzing, right? Yeah.
I'm out of my depth with that thing.
So-
like I was about the gene editing last week. They're using a gene CRISPR. I think it's called CRISPR technology.
Just keep
You ever hear that?
making the genes bigger and bigger and bigger. That was your solution last week.
Now make the genes. No, you
Well,
don't.
like
You don't want to make the
genetically
genes any longer.
modifying
You don't want
the-
to make it more than what is it? 26.
Well, you're talking about chromosomes.
Yeah, 26 chromosomes.
Right.
No, I'm not trying to make the DNA molecule any bigger.
No, you're just trying to enlarge the actual
items.
physical person or
giant
physical
shrimp.
Yes, giant shrimp.
I didn't say shrimp. Yet
No,
this
you
time.
were talking about sharks.
Sharks. Maybe
Maybe
a manatee, because manatees have a hard time surviving down here because the boat's running over them. Why not make the manatee a little more aggressive and more muscular? Instead of being a sea cow, it'd be the sea bull.
oh,
And
we
it would
could
be
give 'em some
charging and
horns.
give them, make them
They could
tough.
pop
And
holes
and they move
in the
faster.
bottoms of the
and it'd be,
boats
you have like a 1,500-pound missile coming at your boat.
with horns.
Yeah. So if
'Cause
you
then you
run
could-
over, it says, "Oh, that's a manatee." You're not going to run over a manatee.
Because then they might pierce,
they pierce the
your
horns. If you're gonna
fiberglass.
Deal with the bull manatee, you're going to get the horns.
You're going to get the horns.
Yeah.
Okay, so my Moby Douche is just pointing out the fact that a Moby Douche can also be female. And
More suitable for that. Because
Yeah.
I think we called someone, a nickname for someone at the bar one time. We called them, hey, cool it, Summer's Eve. I said that,
perfect.
which is a douche.
Yes. It's good when you have that not so fresh feeling.
Yes. My buddy asked that of his sister one time. He goes, "Hey, you ever get that not so fresh feeling?" And she punched him right in the face.
Well, it's probably rightfully so.
Yeah. That's a
But
good
still.
one.
So, yeah, I have a situation where I have a staff member that is very unapologetic and sees nothing wrong with errors in their ways. Right. So, now, mind you, you're a bartender, but while you're at work, would it be acceptable for you to be so drunk that you could not perform your duties?
No.
Right?
No,
I mean,
it's
most
not.
of the
It's not
time,
acceptable.
bartenders are not allowed to drink at all while you're working, right? So unless somebody buys you a shot, you can have one once in a while.
Or towards the end.
Or towards the end,
and
right.
then, like when you're on the clock, like a couple places when you're on the clock, you couldn't. Some places you don't drink at all.
Right. But they have to
It's
put
a,
that.
It's a, what do they call it? It's not a right. It's
It's a privilege.
a privilege.
Right. So, but when you go to work at that specific location, they probably lay out those rules for you ahead of time, right? Like, this is how it's going to be, and you're not going to drink
Well, you're
while
not
you're
working
working.
in a bar.
Right. I'm not. But when you go to work at a bar, they usually lay that out, right?
Well, I think if you don't know that you're not supposed to come into work drunk and then drink while you're working, you're definitely picking the wrong. I mean, some people, there are a lot of people that have drinking problems. Restaurant
Yes.
business, just the way it is.
Right.
You're being around the things you love. It's just like if you're a necrophiliac, you like screwing dead people.
Then you
Good.
probably shouldn't work at the funeral home.
Yeah, well, no, or what? But I'm trying to do my thing, the Jewish guy, and coming to But you should, if that's what you like.
If that's what you like.
Yeah, the morgue or a thing. If you like, I'm not saying they do, but
Right.
So what happens? That's
So, like, I have a very professional environment.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone is
no,
uniform.
but you shouldn't be drinking. You
Right.
shouldn't be drinking or using drugs. There was
Right.
a guy. I'll tell you.
Or
about the
like,
heroin.
I
I worked
mean-
with a guy who was a heroin addict, and he kept on falling asleep all the time. Okay.
Well, I mean, you're representing your company, your peers, your other,
Yeah, you
your
got to
coworkers.
converse with the public,
And
and you got to be able to
especially
perform your job.
in a very small town where anything you do is going to get back to management, owners, everything, But when this particular person, it's for the fifth strike at this point, company event-wise, drinking on the job and denying it, getting upset and blaming other people, and basically like, well, why are they mad at me? What's going on? What is the problem? How do you explain when there was a meeting that
This is a woman.
At this particular event.
This is a woman.
Yes, it is. And this particular event, there was a meeting at the very beginning of the event, and it was very clear, you do not drink. You are here to represent the company. You're here to, sell our products, things like that.
Are you allowed to talk about this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, but what the back
What happened?
Nothing so far.
So at the event you're talking about. I think I know you know the event. I know the event you're talking about.
Right. So at an event, I had a staff member that was so drunk that couldn't perform her duties, was completely inappropriate, using foul language, breathing alcohol breath all over customers who were trying to go on boat rides. I mean, absolutely embarrassing, humiliating. Yeah. And on my side of it, I'm more embarrassed and humiliated because I'm the one that hired this person. Right? Okay. Which means I will probably have to be the one that takes this person out, which is going to most likely be sooner than later.
Just like,
what a Moby douche. Why would you put me in that situation? Now, mind you, I'm in upper management, so I don't attend these type of events. I'm not there. But I hear back from every one of my staff members that was at this event.
Okay, but you said it happened 5 separate times, so it happened after.
This is the 5th event. This is the 5th strike.
Oh, this is the one that happened. Oh, this is the boat show.
Yeah. So this is the 5th strike. So now I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
I worked in the sales. That's a problem with what? Sales and restaurant work, construction.
So if you want to go to lunch and you want to have a beer with your burger, or you want to go have a drink at lunch, and you
don't abuse it.
Don't absolutely abuse it. But basically, it's like, okay, so how can you possibly hold your head high as some type of professional when you make a fool of yourself like this, right? And, of course, because it's a small town, that information got back to not only me but other managers as well as the owner. Yeah. They all know who you are, and now they know they've known your sickness and your illness. But it was like a prime example to me of that there is an actual problem here. Like, I'm all about drinking beer after work. I'm all about having a beverage at lunch. Yep. But there is absolutely no way that I'm going to go to work and work an event and be incoherent / slutty / breathing alcohol all over people. Right? And it put me in a bad situation. So that's my Moby Douche story.
That's a bad one when you went out on a limb for someone on the job, and then they don't step up and say, I made a mistake.
Right.
I'm wrong. And
now
I apologize. I'm going to do something about it. Or, you fess up to it and do that.
No apologies. No nothing. And we're all in the wrong. And she's mad at everyone.
From what I
understand. Because somebody told on her.
From what I understand, this is what happens at a couple different places she worked. I worked for her once and stuff like that. But she wasn't doing that. But it's tough because, you remember, I told you I went in AA for 7 years. I would get I worked with a guy who was a maitre d' at a catering hall, and they found him one night. The lights were on. It was like 4 a.m. He was just obliterated, hanging on to the bar, drinking. And it's a lot of people don't agree with it. It's a disease. It is a disease. It's a disease just like drugs or almost anything. Almost anything that people are feel compelled to do. I hold to the disease model. A disease model does not make you not responsible, because if you're a diabetic, your responsibility is to keep your blood sugar in check and to monitor yourself and make sure you have insulin, right?
Right.
So that's the same thing. I'm just saying, when you say disease, you're like saying they're not responsible. They are responsible.
To me, a disease is usually something that's like...
You have to do something about it.
It's like an infection. It's like something you caught from something.
No, but if you do that, like what you have to do is you have to go... I mean, God, there were
This person needs, like, rehab. Like, AAA is not going to cut it. Like, this is the type of person that would go to AA and sit there and talk a bunch of bullshit for 2 hours and then go home and hammer it.
You ever see that show, Intervention. I don't think it's on TV anymore.
No.
Never saw it?
No.
Yeah, they canceled that 5-6 months ago.
Okay, yeah, you got to get it close.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it was great. And the great thing about it is that you have these alcoholics and drug addicts and stuff like that, and they really believe that they're interesting enough. Their sad life is, this is, oh, yeah. And you see some of the girls. Remember, Tyler, you see the girls in there, and they're doing stuff with their hair, and they're looking like, oh, well, they think I'm interesting and pretty and something like that. And you look at it, and no, you're not. You're sick. You're snorting Adderall or oxycodone or whatever.
They assumed they were like the Kardashians, those kind of shows.
And
they
then when
were there for the
intervention
fame.
shows up, they're like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is the intervention." There's no. Obviously, they have not been enlightened by their friends. If you are followed by a documentary crew that wants to talk to you, it's probably intervention.
You're
It's
there
just
for
like
a
if you were
problem,
fucking
not
bar.
for fame.
If you're at a bar that's failing, this is the thing. And this is the segue to this. Can we get away from the Moby Douche thing? This is it. You're at a bar, and it's failing, and, it's kind of dumpy, and the food's shitty, and they want to film you. They're filming. There's cameras in. There's guys walking around and shit like that. It's fucking bar intervention or whatever that is.
Bar rescue.
Bar rescue.
That is a
and
great
fucking
show.
Big dickhead's going to come in and start yelling at you eventually. So you know what? Do your job. Shut up. Don't drink when you're on the job. Don't give shots. Don't do belly. If you're if you're a girl and you think you're hot and you're working at a bar and you're letting people do belly shots off you, don't do it if there's going to be cameras in there. They're going to get you.
That's after hours once you're closed. You're a few little locals if you want to get that crazy, but not during hours. Not
during
when
hours,
other people are
yeah.
there, no.
But even then, they got the guys, the people that fall asleep in the bars and stuff like that and they wake up. And one guy, I saw one where he he was the owner's son, and he allowed for a fee someone to film a porn in their bar. And they have a sofa sitting there, and they use the sofa, and someone's sitting on it, and they're showing a video to the guy, one of the other owners that didn't know about it, and he's sitting on the same sofa, and he gets all skeeved out and shit like that. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that happens. But these people, like, get intervention. I'll get back to intervention. They have no fucking idea that they're the subject of
How?
I didn't at the time. When you're deeply in it, your ego tells you to attack everyone that's attacking you, that's interrupting you.
Right.
Your lifestyle.
It's,
I get it. I get it myself. If I want to do my fucking thing, and people say, "Well, you can't do your thing," like when I argue with the other guys.
Right.
So, hey, and I go, you know what? Maybe they have a minutia. I think maybe I should give them a little more credit than I do. I think maybe 15%, mine 85%. I should give them 15% credit instead of 0.
But possibly, but it's when you listen to the outside sources, it's the same thing like when you see a little kid that's doing something bad, and his mom's like, "Stop doing that. That's bad. That's bad." But when a stranger walks up and says, "You're a bad little kid," that kid listens. Yeah. Because that's not the same voice he keeps hearing over and over again that he just brushes off. Yeah. They look at a stranger like, "Oh crap!" So everybody else sees that I'm bad, So you
the
think
really bad kids that don't. I was the one. I told Santa Claus to show. I didn't tell Santa Claus to shut up. I told an old man who told me when I was 3 years old that stop being a bad kid. I was screaming or something like that, or Santa. And this is back in '66 when the guy still wore suits, coats, suit jackets and stuff. And I looked up. A 3-year-old looked up and told the guy to shut up. My mom told me that.
Yeah.
Told an old
you
man
got
to
some
shut
nuts
up.
as a little kid.
Yeah. I was a little asshole.
But when other people
right now,
typically,
I feel that way, but you always want to personalize why someone is a total asshole. They're sick. They're all sick.
Yeah.
There's some responsibility, and there's a lot of responsibility you have. There's a lot of Hitler was a sick man.
Yes, that's
Hitler
very
was
true.
a sick man. He was very sick, and people didn't listen to. There's a lot of sick people out there. I just don't think they realize it. Now, when you purpose the people, that's when you got psycho and sociopaths. shit. A psychopath knows they're doing wrong. A sociopath doesn't
care.
Doesn't care. A sociopath doesn't know they're doing wrong, really, because their primary objective is to do what they need to do to thrive.
Just for themselves, just to survive. Right.
I need money. I do this. I can lie to anybody. Like anybody who's ever sold used cars or some realtors that sell houses that they know are trouble properties. You know, we all have it.
They'll just, they BS their way through it to benefit themselves, right? So this one, sociopath, says it's a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and lack of a conscience.
Yeah, see, they have
so
no
that's
idea.
the thing. That's just
you have a lack of a conscience. A psychopath doesn't care.
What is the difference? I thought the definition of like
a psychopath doesn't have to be harmful too. Psychopath, there's when they go and say homicidal psychopaths and psychopaths. You could be a psychopath without being murderous or harmful to other people.
Ooh, psychopath versus sociopath. Yeah. Google, so fabulous.
That's a good one. Well, the douche is on a different level because I don't know if you could be a sociopath and be a douche, because a sociopath is a higher level.
Well, then there's
Much
some that
level.
are both.
It's a gold card member. You know, you can't just be a douche. Kind of knows. You know, you went and got the spray tan. You're wearing a Tommy Hilfiger shirt,
right?
Or what was the other one they wear?
Well, that's kind of
wealthy. That's a wealthy douche one.
Yeah,
the wealthy douche one. I'm talking about like the Guido douche.
The Guido douche. Oh, with the big chains.
Yeah,
big chains and the pinky rings.
And there was a clothes.
90% of them back in the day used to wear visors.
The wealthy douches.
No, just any douche in general.
Okay, wait, say it again. They can't hear you.
Back in the day, you're walking down Miami Beach or anything like that, and you see. They're in their fancy board shorts and they got their visors, and 9 out of 10 of them you could tell, all right, it's a normal person, the visor's on regular.
Yeah.
But when they would flip it upside down and put it backwards, that's when you're looking into, the Miami douche.
Yeah.
And you kind of keep your clear of that crowd.
Well, I think they are. Well, we got the South Philly douchebag, and you got the working class douchebag. The guy who used to be in the day in the early 80s, it was and you see him in the movies, you still see him in the older movies, the Lacoste shirt with the collar flipped up, the polo shirt, flipped up the collar up, the sweater tied around the neck. Sweater tied around the neck, or something like that.
Yeah.
And when a guy, I think the further you have the sweater tied up, the more douchey you are. The lower, the more effeminate. When they tie it around the waist, and then they I'm going to go for, that's a little effeminate. I'm going to be a douche.
So around the neck would be douchier, and then as you get towards the waist, you're questioning sexuality.
I mean, kind of funny if you tied it around your, if you did it midsection. Up near your tits? That's funny.
Then you're questionable.
No, you're all right. You're nuts, but you could be okay. I think so. Or you tie it around your eyes, you can blindfold yourself and bump in all the fun. Like that bird.
Yeah, what is that? The bird box? Yeah. I mean, the memes of that is just phenomenal. I've not even looked into it.
Well, I know about it. No, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it yet. It's a Netflix movie.
I think so.
Was it just designed for Netflix? But when you see them come, they wear the uniform. It's like a slutty woman. It used to be, and says you cannot judge a woman by the clothes she wears. There was down the Sunday. I'm coming back from spin class, and Abby's with me, and we're driving up the road from south of Key Largo, from the gym coming in, and there's a young girl, and she has a ripped belly. You know what I mean? Oh my God. I mean, whatever was showing was tantalizing at best. And I go, how in the hell can she walk down the road like that? Very provocatively. And I wouldn't call her slut or something like that, but it was dangerous. It was dangerous. It was dangerous driving down the road and stuff like that. That was on purpose. That was for effect. So when a douche does it for effect, I mean, I mean, it's you attract more flies with honey than you would vinegar. So they're trying to attract their counterpart because they know they're not going to get the sweet girl. You got to have that hat on it, upside down and backwards.
You know, if you got it, you can
that's
show
the guy
it.
I want,
but to an extent, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they expect from a relationship. I know from a night out, they go, he probably has some coke, and we're probably going to go to a club that has bottle service, right? Where you get the whole bottle. You ever seen that? No. $1,500.
Yeah, no.
You buy the whole bottle to help yourself. I mean, it's
yeah.
silly.
Back in college, those were $90 bottles, not $1,500.
What? Well, at the Hard Rock, or there was a show called what was it called? Rehab. Something. It was show. So it took place at Hard Rock, and they just followed the bartenders or waitresses around talking to people. And it was just a bunch of douchebags hanging around a pool in Las Vegas, acting their douchiest, all of them.
Like interviewing? The bartenders and waitresses were walking around interviewing douches?
No. They're working, and they're going up to these cabanas, and the way they're talking, and there's guys say, I'm going to need a bunch of $5. You know, I need you to break up. I got $1,000. I need you to break it up. And so they can make it rain on a bunch of girls. So they're throwing money at girls. So I think they're strippers that show up or something like that. Because, I mean, or it possibly could be a college student that said, oh, I need to get a couple books.
But, you know, they're just regular girls. They're just trying to put their kids through school.
Mm-hmm. So are they using what God gave them or whatever, who gave them?
They don't say that girls that wear what revealing clothes are slutty. It's determined at how much of their clothes are they willing to take off. Like, I don't know. I just don't agree with it.
I can't be too judgmental on that stuff, because if I can make like $1,000 a night,
would you get up there and strip?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't. I'd have to be put in that situation because it's so foreign for me to be. I'd have to be. If you had limited intellectual capacity, or maybe you don't, maybe you have a lot. I mean, you say I'm gonna just work 2 shifts a week, and I need to clear 800 a week back in the day, maybe, and that'll take care of my school, and then the rest of it is free, and I'll just shut it down. When I leave there, I'm not there anymore. I remember I met a girl at a college party, and I remember seeing her at another place. It was where they did private shows.
Ah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I swear to God, man, I'm not going to be able to take this girl out. Not because she does private shows someplace else, because she doesn't want to go with a guy that saw her at a private show.
Right.
Because that was her secret. And I said, well, you know, eventually you're going to be with somebody, and you're going to have to tell them that's what you're doing, or that's what you did. Or you're going to have a secret that you're going to keep from them
forever.
You know, and some of the stuff was it.
Where does psychopath come into double lives in that scenario?
Well, that's psychopath. That's a.
But some can be completely normal with their everyday life, and then they'll go and do something in that nature, and they're completely different because they're fixated on it. You know,
I don't think that's psychopath. I don't think it's psychopathy. I think psychopathy is the way you're concerned about other people's feelings, and it would leak into all different parts of life, whether you just stay in the church and don't do any of that stuff. I think that's it's called compartmentalizing your life.
Right, that's separate.
And the way the guys in mafia do it. My dad had a friend, and we talk about him. He's very sickly now, but was my father's best friend. And I remember I've known this guy since I was born. I never knew what he did. I knew he did some maybe heavy equipment operating and stuff like that. And he was a nice guy who was fun. He had an Italian last name. And then I go, oh, what's he doing now? Well, he's in the banking business. He didn't know anything about banking. Yeah, he's in the banking business. And now it took me like years later to realize he meant like he was a loan shark or a collector for a bookie.
He's breaking kneecaps.
And he always had a nice place, not too nice,
right?
Not too nice,
but comfortable.
He was a short guy, big. I don't think I met a lot of those guys. They weren't like really intimidating badasses. Some of them had guns and stuff. It's being affiliated with a group that's willing to do certain things.
Like
I think
flip
the thing.
switch.
Like if you decided, if Tyler and I and you and a couple other people decided to form our own group and decided to do things outside the law, not too outrageous, we could form. But they had these rituals that kept them organized, and that's why they call it organized crime. Because they said, no, you're a capo, you're the advisor, consigliere.
Right.
You're this is the order of it, and we do not tell. That's why these other places, when the guy would drag one of them in without that organization, they would come in and say, well, we're going to put you in for 20 years, and your family's screwed and you're screwed, and there's no one to help you. They flip. That's why loose organizations would always, in their 30s, it was no big deal because everyone would get away. Right? They go in there and break into it. They announce it. They'd be wearing all the fucking fucked up, great-looking clothes, go into a bank, shoot it up, say, hey, it's Tyler King. I'm going to tell him Tyler King was here. He took all your money. And you just took off. And they have a picture drawn about you. Maybe look a little like you, or they may have a picture of you they took. But they may catch you, they may not. And these guys stayed out there for 6 years, and then they catch them, and then they get a bar of soap and cut it into a gun and break out.
Well, that was funny.
Guys used to break out of prison like crazy all the time. Now it's a rarity. But they used to break out of prison all the fucking time. There were stories about it. People. My mom, when she was a little girl, back in the 40s, the late 40s after World War II, there was guys breaking out of this prison, and it looked like a medieval castle in northeast Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's where they have the signs on the road, do not pick up hitchhikers.
Oh, shit like that. And guys would break out all the time. They'd come in a laundry thing. And then,
yeah, well, they weren't as organized, I guess, as those guys were.
Oh, they were great. It was like, they'd go to prison for a while and stuff like that. I guess, I don't know if there was it was very rapey then or anything.
Well, what were we talking about of course, yeah, it was super rapey then. But do you
remember
talking about, think about Shawshank.
No, but they got out. If they can get out and they say, oh, I can, if I really try really hard, I can get out of prison. I think Stephen King colored that one with, because it's so hard to sneak out of prison now. It's absolute.
You could also pay off people easier back then.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could pay off people a lot easier back then. You know what? I saw a special thing the other day about, because I like watching the ID channel, and this specific prisoner basically like romanced this prison guard, female, and she fell madly in love with this guy, and she was like sneaking in razor blades and sneaking in stuff.
The guys in California?
Yeah. And she is the reason that they got out.
Yep.
And they finally like indicted her. She ended up back in prison herself. How crazy would that be to be on one side of the bars holding the keys and you're on the other side and you're screwed. All because you fell for a freaking sociopath or maybe even psychopath because...
a prison guard job is a pretty shitty job.
Bro, it is. It is. My neighbor is a retired prison guard.
Yeah. There was a guy, the guy I told you came from a family of 13. One of his older brothers was a prison guard. And we went up to Poconos. They had it's the mountains north of Philadelphia, in between Philadelphia and New York. And they had a big bunkhouse and stuff like that because they had 13 kids, so they had to be able to sleep like 30 people at their house. So they had a big bunkhouse out of the garage, and they had rooms in their main house and shit like that. And one night I'm in there, and I'm with a girl, right? And in the middle of the night, we heard him, like, smacking. He's getting smacked. Get off me, you know, like that. He's screaming and stuff like that. So I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I thought someone was raping him. He was reliving the rape things he heard. They didn't go in. The reason they wouldn't go in there is because it was nighttime and there was less guards. So it was locked down. Oh. You wouldn't walk into that area. I mean, why the fuck are the cells open up?
Yeah.
How could you get in there? And stuff. And they say they go in there and the guys get in. Some of the cells are open.
Yeah, well, I think that they were...
Because they wouldn't all have... Not all prisons had, like, cells.
Well, some of them are considered non-violent offenders, so those guys aren't usually locked up as tight, I believe. They go into bunk houses, so then it's kind of like Army barracks, so they just kind of all have to exist together.
Yeah, and that's...
But then...
Misdemeanor or first-degree felony, lightly... Yeah, your misdemeanors and first-degree light felonies would be put into, like, a bunkhouse. So it's like Army barracks, and you're all in one.
Down this dark path for. I know,
but you know, back then, again, you know, used to have conjugal visits back then. Now,
on a lighter note,
nowhere in there.
On a lighter, I like it. We could. I think we should do a whole show on how not to go to prison, and what are the top 5 reasons
get away with now
not to go to prison. Why not to go to prison? It's like. And how they don't, how they don't view themselves as gay, but they're doing, and they're very homophobic. You can't call them gay. What you did,
but you're locked up in there with guys for X amount of years. I mean, it gets lonely playing with yourself. So I guess in their mind, they're picturing something else. Yeah,
talking about people in denial, and that's a perfect segue. Perfect segue. I was in my corrective stretch class. It's kind of a yoga class where you hold the pose for. Oh, God, like, I don't know what they do in a real yoga class because I've been going to this one, but they do real yoga poses in it. And I am the least flexible person around because I was lifting weights for years. And so I'm sitting there, and the women are talking before the women in their 40s, early 50s. And a couple of them said they were talking about the hot water heaters, and they're wealthier people. One's a lawyer, a defense lawyer up in Miami, and her husband. But still, hot water heater, I guess, that makes everyone's a great equalizer.
You know, that's a phrase that I've been corrected on for the past, 5 years. Jenna always corrects me. It's a water heater. If it was already hot, you wouldn't need to heat it.
It's a water heater. Water heater.
Again, she's a grammar Nazi, so...
No. But you're right. You're right about that. But they were talking about how, the men in house, they take long showers. And they were like saying 25, 40 minutes, and they go like this. Well, my son does it very meditating for me. Go like this.
Yeah,
already,
right.
in my head, I go, they're fucking masturbating.
Yep. One of our children does 25-minute showers.
I'm holding the words in. I go, when someone takes a 40-minute shower, they're masturbating multiple times.
And why do you think life-proof cases were such a hit several years ago? Because you could actually take your phone into the shower with you and actually watch your videos. So you weren't just imagining.
Well, when you're young, you don't have to really imagine and stuff like that. It just happens when you're young. But I was going to say, they're all talking about it. I go, and I just said the funny thing is to go say, I didn't even laugh at them to go and look at them and go, and like, so they go, why are you laughing? They go, they're meditating, right? And
they're 40, 50 years old.
Like yeah, meditating. Yeah.
In a spin class, yoga / and, they're in their spandex and all that stuff thinking they're hot, and they're wondering what their, 30-year-old, 20, 18-year-old kids.
Or their 50-year-old husband.
Is
doing a shower for 40 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure he's like Howard Hughes. He's scrubbing everything. No, I can tell you firsthand, when my showers are longer than 5-6 minutes, no, it's cold. A cold morning, 10 minutes.
Yeah, average is about a 10-minute shower.
10-minute shower. But, I know I was in the Navy, so I never, I'm pretty.
You learn to get in and out quick.
And that 5 would have, They would have gave you a hard time. You spent 5 minutes in the shower.
And there's nothing, you get older
They
and you
just
start
think I
having
know.
muscle aches, and a nice hot shower helps you cool down.
Yeah, when the window's open and it's not getting fogged up, and you just have the hot water hitting your muscles. That's great. But 40 minutes.
Yeah,
If
something else
you're
is
in a
going
tub.
on.
That's why the people that spend 40 minutes in the shower are tub people. They do bubble baths. They just soak in a hot tub.
Nothing wrong with a hot tub and some
there's
Epsom
nothing
salt.
wrong. There is nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, 40 minutes in the shower, you're just wasting a shitload of hot water.
I have to throw out one of my sons is like the king of 45-minute showers, and he's like almost 22. But it's funny because he'll just show up randomly without even calling me, and he has his own house, his own shower, his own everything.
Yeah.
But he shows up and he's like, "Hey, Mom." I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a shower." I'm like, "At my house? Why?" Well, because he wants to waste 45 minutes of my water. Now, this is very like.
And he's not shy about it.
Yeah, he's not shy about it. I mean, we know what he's doing in that shower. But
yeah, we're gonna say
he-
you have those
and he's-
decorative soaps.
he's a very bold young man when it comes to those types of discussions. So I have this great scenario for you. He must have been probably 15, maybe 16 years old, and he had come home from school and he was like, "Oh God, it was a bad day. I had to take a test. It was really hard." I was like, "Well, how hard was it?" He goes, "As hard as the sock under my bed, Mom." And I was like, "Well, that's great, So yes. So anybody out there who knows who my youngest son is, now he's completely called out about
They're
it.
never soft again once you use those. He's in a sock.
It's a sock
Yeah.
under the bed.
Invest in
Right.
tissues, my friend. Invest in tissues. It's cheaper and it takes. I mean, you do not need. Six
No,
socks.
you don't
Oh
need
my
the sock.
God.
Yeah, well,
And those towels never come out right after that.
no, they don't.
Use a towel.
Fabric
Have a little
softener.
respect for your linen. Have a little respect for your linen.
Right?
But maybe, maybe if the guy's slightly environmental, leaning, he wants to be
Sure.
respectful of the environment and reduce waste.
I'm thinking that he was just going to throw away that sock once it was, too crispy. That way it didn't, if there was constant daily tissues in the bathroom that I would have noticed.
See,
of
when
course.
someone's open, when they're open, and go like this, it's the end of discussion. It's
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. Someone came up and said, "Oh, yeah, what I would do." But if not, there was Sam Donaldson was a famous reporter, and he worked the White House during the Reagan administration, and Reagan was really good at doing, as Kennedy was, and Carter was really good at doing the news conferences. And right at the end, Sam Donaldson he said one of these things. He goes, Mr. President, there was a survey that came out, and they realized that 30% of the men in America masturbate in the shower, and the other 70% sing one particular song. Do you know that song, Mr. President? He said, "No, I thought not." So, but I mean, it would go like this. Why be ashamed?
Right.
And Sam Donaldson using it. It's supposed to be progressive. He was supposed to be somewhat progressive. Say, why are you making a joke about that? The president said he should have owned it and said, "Yeah, you damn right."
Yeah.
He was 71 years old at that time.
Oh, damn right. I don't know that
He
song.
said it to Ronald Reagan. He should have been proud of himself.
Well, as the mother of 3 adult young men, I have heard and seen it all.
Yeah.
So I'm a little desensitized to it at this point.
Well, every time I see a young guy go into a place like, I guess there were strip clubs, and I used to take them to one in Philadelphia, and there's all different types of strip clubs. There are ones that have the liquor license. The ones that have a liquor license, they have some rules.
There was the ones with the massage
The
parlors.
ones without the liquor license, you can bring your own, and they charge you like $20 to come in and stuff like that. That was crazy stuff. And the guys come in, and these young guys would come in and say, "Well, yeah, I'm wearing my sweatpants and silk underwear, and here's my bag with my backup underwear." Yeah, because they were going to change your underwear.
Of course, yeah.
I said, what are you going to do with your underwear? Thing? He said, go in the trash.
Just throw them away.
Yeah, they just throw it away right there. And they had a plan. They had their own plan. They went out, and they knew exactly what to do. And they were proud of it. They were telling me, and I was like 15 years older. I said, well, don't you think maybe – you know how girls need to have their secrets?
Yeah.
Guys need to have their secrets, too. I think they do.
It should.
I don't think you have to be all out there all the time. You don't need to tell them. We know. We know. You don't have to tell us everything.
Did I ever tell you that I got kicked out of a sex world when I was like 21?
What was that?
A sex world. Sex world is like the dirty store down the street, but big, like 4 stories high in downtown Minneapolis. And I had no idea. And my friend Liz brought me there. And, of course, I was a very young mother because at 21 I had already had 3 kids.
Yeah.
Twins, so I cheated.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand what half of the things were, so I was loud, and I was asking questions. I was like, what is that? Where does that go? And then there was like a pocket pussy on the table, and usually I guess they would have like a plastic film over so you could see through it in the box.
Yeah.
But, so I like went and I touched it. I put my finger on it, and there was no plastic on this one.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, God, that's disgusting. And they were like, ma'am, could you please leave? I was like, okay. And Liz is mortified. Well, I didn't know what it was, and I'm yelling at Liz because she's on the other side of the store. I'm like, what is this thing? So she took me to the elevator. She's like, we got to go. So she takes me to this elevator, and we go up. And I thought we were going, like, out.
Yeah.
But I don't know where we were.
To a different area?
And it was a different level. And the level that we ended up on had an S&M room on one side with, like, whips and chains and all of these.
And a sex show on the other.
Right. And then on the other side, it had black walls everywhere with little dividers. It looked like booths, kind of. And, of course, those were the ones where the guys would go in and put the quarter or whatever and get the peep shows. And, of course, my whole thought at the time was like, oh, I'd hate to have a black light in here. And then, of course, at that point, the person that was monitoring that level of the building then escorted me out to leave because I was giggling. I thought it was funny.
Black light, yeah, it would be all over the place.
I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can handle going into a dirty store. I would be the 12-year-old that's giggling.
Once you think about it, the Lover's Boutique, I mean, they tell you exactly what it is on the outside. In Philadelphia, the nondescript white building with the small windows, walking in and having one sign that says, triple X and stuff like that. That was much more dirty and filthy.
They were just trying to be discreet about it.
You go in there and they tell you see a pocket pussy, you got dildos and all that stuff. No less different than the videos you would see any other videos. And I remember I was 35 years old, right before I got married, a year or two. My then wife's best friend, Sue, she'd go, come on, Jim. Drags me in his place. She drags me. I was laughing my ass off. And she drags me right to the gay section. And says, look at these. Look at these cocks. And just showing guys sucking dick and getting pot in the ass on the thing. There was VHSs. And I'm like, oh, and I couldn't handle it. I go, wow. She goes, you never seen this? I said, not a prolonged. I never had a prolonged exposure to it in life or in that. And now I really haven't really gone into watch. I know I should do a clinical look at it. Maybe that would be a great topic for a show. I should go and explore.
I was just getting my mother. Yes. Oh, my poor mother.
Review a tape and just say the first time I have to see it, it has to be more clinical. I wouldn't want to see.
And be like, how is that
just
physically
like guys
possible?
Doing all that stuff. I mean, come on. I've seen women, so why would it be? I haven't really just seen it because I guess there's still a little panic. But 55 years old, I don't think I'm worried about.
I don't think you should be worried about what you see at this point. I do have another great one for you though, because of course I have 3 sons, right, that are very, very close in age. And when they were about, the twins, I think, were 13, and my older son might have been about 14. Yeah. And they were driving around Hudson, Wisconsin with my mom. and this is naughty grandma, FG, right? We call her FG. It stands for fucking grandma. And they convinced her that this store called Left of Center was a video store, like a video game art, like a GameStop. And they wanted her to go, and they were like, we can't go in there because we're not 18. You have to be 18. Right. This is years. Yeah, years ago. So they convinced Grandma to pull up in front of this little store in Hudson, Wisconsin, which looks like kind of like a Duval Street, but real tiny, right? All the old buildings real close together, hardly any parking. So they get her to pull up in her minivan, and she goes into this store to go look for the specific video game that these kids asked her for. No, because of course, it was not a video store. No, it was because they told her that you have to be 18 to go in. Okay. Because of this video game that they wanted was like a Call of Duty or something like that, where you had to be old enough to go buy it, and they weren't old enough, so they wanted Grandma to buy it for them. And of course, Grandma came sprinting out the front door because it was not a video store. Oh, really? It was a head shop in the front, which had all the weed pipes and all that stuff, and in the back it was all porn. But Ryan had heard from one of his friends at school that this is what was actually in that store, and nobody had ever. So they thought they would convince Grandma to go in there. Yeah, Grandma was a little mortified when she came out there. Yeah, she did say that she went back there later, though, and bought a hookah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she bought a hookah. And then she actually bought one for my brother and sent it to him for his birthday, I think.
Oh, she's cool.
Oh,
is
my
your mom?
Yeah, my mom.
And you never?
Never.
And she does?
Yeah.
Is it legal there?
No. I mean, I don't think so.
I hope it.
I don't know.
I hope it does.
I'm not sure.
For her sake.
I mean, she's.
Well, I'm sure she's doing fine.
She is about to be 71.
Okay.
But she's
doing fine.
She's batshit crazy, though.
In a good way.
Yes, in a very good way. This is the Lebanese parent.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
We need that.
Awesome.
You need that here.
She's crazy pants.
Well, look at this. We are at 56 minutes going on an hour.
See, and you keep having these ideas that we should do 2 30-minute shows. How could we possibly do that? Because once we start going, we just keep going. We'd have to do 2.
I wouldn't cut it. I wouldn't cut it off.
We'd have to do like 2 1-hour shows.
Unless we had a guest and we had to cut at that point, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah. I mean, if someone really likes the show, listen. The important thing to say at the end of this is we need your reviews on iTunes. We got 10.
Yes, we need more. We need more iTunes.
I know it's going to be tough. Everyone is, especially in the beginning, the effect of a review when we're at just 10 to 20, and it's in our second year. I'm telling you, it's really hard to continue with not seeing, but we have seen recently a lot of growth. So if we can get some reviews, any new listeners, no matter where you're from, on iTunes, let's hit it on iTunes. Then we'll focus on Spreaker, maybe Spotify.
What I hope they're doing right now is sitting in their car because they don't want to shut it off and go inside yet because they've been listening to us and laughing at our
hopefully
insanity.
You don't have a box of tissues next to them.
Right, hopefully not. And please,
and
and when you're done with your sock, if you wouldn't mind, please just logging into iTunes.
And if you use a softener as a mother, would you say a fabric softener? I bet a fabric softener would probably do something.
It seems to help a little
vinegar.
bit. But, the good thing about young boys in socks is that most of the time you can just throw them away because there's a hole at least.
Oh. Well, on that note, we
call-in?
Yeah, we could do a call-in.
Maybe once a week, try and get more people. And
we could. I have Skype here. We could do call-in. I have to get a headset, and I have to put it in. How would I? Yeah.
We'll definitely have to plan on that.
Mic to 3/4 jack.
No, I got it. I just have to. I'd have to do. It would be coming out of here into here, so my headphones would come, or our headphones.
We would have to. Yeah, we'd have to keep headphones on to listen.
Here.
This is Jim trying to figure out all this electronics here, folks.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be cool if we could do a call-in show, and then they can interact with us live while we're being
maybe
crazy.
we can talk to your mom.
We could definitely talk to my mom.
2 hours.
Yeah, okay.
We might.
Well, we'll break that into a bunch. Then we can talk to my dad.
Yes.
Okay, well, this week this is an hour. This is good. We're gonna have another beer after this. We're gonna knock this off.
Yes, we are.
Say goodbye, Jenna.
Goodbye, Jenna.
Okay.
I'm going
how
to
about you,
fetch
Tyler?
Jim a beer. Here is Tyler to say goodbye.
Yep.
And good night from Key Largo at 309 Belmont.
Here we go.
We off? Well, you always get those from the radio show, you know.
After a long day of being pulled in every direction, the last thing anyone wants to think about is what's for dinner. That's where Schwann's can help, with a variety of real food choices, frozen to lock in freshness. From ready-made meals, premium meats and side dishes, to vegetables, ice cream, and more. Schwann's foods go from freezer to table in minutes, not hours, so you can pull off a delicious meal in no time at all. Ordered, delivered, done. That's homemade easy. To help simplify mealtime, visit schwans.com. After a long day of being pulled in every direction, the last thing anyone wants to think about is what's for dinner. That's where Schwann's can help, with a variety of real food choices, frozen to lock in freshness. From ready-made meals, premium meats and side dishes, to vegetables, ice cream, and more. Schwann's foods go from freezer to table in minutes, not hours, so you can pull off a delicious meal in no time at all. Ordered, delivered, done. That's homemade easy. To help simplify mealtime, visit schwans.com.